Welcome wargamers and hobbyists. This is the part 2 video of my painting log for the next 2 weeks. Can't guarantee I'll do one every day, but I will do as many as I can. So today I just wanted to show you what the models look like once they have been zenithal undercoated or zenithal base coated. This is a pretty new technique for me. I suppose I've been using it for almost a year now, but haven't really done a lot of painting in that time. As I sort of went on about in my previous video, it's a 3-stage undercoat where you do a very light spray of black from underneath, a very light spray of grey at a sort of 60-ish degree angle, and then a over-the-top spray, like an aerial spray with skull white, or black, grey and white. You know, the specific paints don't particularly matter as long as they're, you know, black, grey or white. The reason I do this, as you can hopefully see in this video, is that it adds a lot of definition to the models quite quickly. So each of these models in front of you, if you like, are kind of already a monochrome with the lighting effects that we normally strive to do with highlighting and washing the recesses. Like if you specifically look at the cloaks there, you can see there's a lot of shadow in them along those lines where the recesses have been picked up. I really like this because, first of all, I'm not great at highlighting, at least not using the traditional GW method. This I find is really useful because it gives me a guide of exactly where to put the shadows and the recesses and the highlights on the top of surfaces. But the other thing is, I tend to find this is pretty good for if you're trying to do models fairly quickly. When you've base coated over the top of this, it still won't look as good as if you've carefully highlighted each segment, but it will have a little bit more variation due to the nature of most GW paints being translucent, or most wargaming paints being semi-translucent. So if I painted, say, one of these cloaks, if I painted this cloak in red, if I just use the same colour, it will still look very different on the areas that are black compared to the areas that are grey and the areas that are white. And so it kind of gives you just a bit of a natural transition. And yeah, I've been playing around with it for a little while and just sort of really like how the models turn out when they look. I was lucky enough to be taught this technique by a mate of mine called James Baldwin, who is an incredible painter. And he basically gave this to me as a bit of feedback to try and add some quick definition to the models that I was working on at the time. As you can see, I've got quite a few Galadhrim here to get through. We've got our banner bearer at the end, along with Haldir. I think Haldir's a good example, actually. If you look at the top of his head and his hair, you can see how that's naturally brighter, where the natural light would be catching it. But if you compare that to, say, the chainmail at the bottom of the model, that's, you know, obviously a bit darker, a bit more secluded. It just kind of sort of gives you a working guide of where to, you know, put those washes and those highlights. And I found it really useful for, you know, trying to improve my painting and certainly trying to improve the way that I'm, you know, highlighting these individual miniatures. That's pretty much all I've managed to do on on my first day of the challenge. If I've got a chance, I might try and paint up one of the Galadhrim as a test model, just get a sort of rough idea of, you know, are the highlights working? Sorry, not the highlights. If the colour scheme that I'm picking is working. For the most part, I'm going to stick to the traditional colours that you see in the movies. I'm not entirely sure yet if I am going to go completely with those colours, because Galadhrim have got a bit of a weird mix going on. They have sort of red tabards or red cloth parts of their main armour, as well as very rich blue cloaks, and I'm just not sure whether blue and red are going to work particularly well together as primary colours. There are definitely models that pull it off, that do it, but I'm just not necessarily confident that they'll look fantastic on these, certainly with my current painting level anyway. So I'm quite tempted at the moment to do them all in red cloaks, just completely turn all the cloth areas into red. I may see how the first test model goes and make my decision on that. But yeah, this is day one of the hobby challenge for me, and a hell of a lot of minis to go. Let me know what you think of zenithal highlighting, if you want any more information on it. There's plenty of resources out there, or if you want to ask any questions. And yeah, hopefully you'll be able to see how these models look after they've had a base coat or two. Cool, thank you for watching, and hopefully over the next few days you'll see the army slowly grow. Have fun.